Hello and welcome to Stories, the True and the Fictional, the variety show that revolves around one central theme: stories and the people that tell them. If you haven't done so already, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. And hey, if you're feeling up for it, leave a comment down below, let us know you subscribed, and we will give you a shout out. We here at Stories, the True and the Fictional love giving shout outs to authors, both seasoned and new. Today we're giving a special shout out to Elle Waithman from Texas. Her first book is The King's Chosen, Blood Ties. At the heart of an ancient prophecy is young Lucas, who has the sole power to save two medieval kingdoms from destruction. But will he discover this ultimate secret before it's too late? Find out more at lwaithman.com or follow the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome, guys, to this episode of Stories, the True and the Fictional. Today we have our second or third Australian on the podcast. We're very excited. Thanks for joining us, Stephanie May.
Thank you very much for having me here, guys. I'm super excited. This is my first ever one. So cool. Thank you very much. This is exciting.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, we're very honoured for you to be your first podcast appearance. So thank you very much for that.
Excellent.
All right. So what we normally do with our guests is we crack through a few icebreaker questions before we get to the nitty gritty of why we actually have you on the podcast. So are you ready, raring to go?
I am ready. Yes. Hit me.
All right. So the first question is, and this one you don't have to say what everyone wants you to hear. You can be selfish on this one. We encourage our guests to be selfish with this question. Let people say, pickles, pineapples, you name it, everything. So if you could get rid of one thing in this world, what would it be?
You know what? I am going to refer to sort of an incident that happened last night, and I am going to answer animal cruelty.
Okay. Yep.
Something I didn't do it, don't worry, but there was there was a little bit of an incident, and I actually now have a stray dog on my lounge room, in my lounge room, I should say. So that's my answer: animal cruelty. If I could get rid of, off the top of my head.
I think that's a very good one. I've got many animals inside my house.
Bless you. They're the best things in the world. I know it. I probably should have said poverty and things like that, but as you said, I'm going to be myself, and that's straight off the top of my head. Animals are the best things. So animal cruelty. That's
what we like to hear. Yeah, I have 2 cats, a fish, a rabbit, and probably other things living in their house, my house that I don't know about yet. So
and I just have spiders.
Yeah, exactly. Don't say spiders. Don't say spiders.
I like them. They're cool. I've never had a problem with spiders. It's
awesome. That's where we're going to disagree. I've got massive arachnophobia. I can't deal with it. My housemate has to kill all the spiders. She's the brave one of the household, so she will tear them down.
I used to live with a roommate who was I would say borderline phobia, and if ever there was one in the house, he'd come up to me and say, "Can you please get rid of it?" Because I don't kill them. I can't. That's just me.
Yeah, she's the same. She will just get like a container and put it on there and spider out. And then I said, "But you're just encouraging it to come back."
All right, moving along. Tell us something that is on your bucket list.
I would say that I would like to be a passenger on the new Titanic.
Oh.
I know that's completely random, but it's something on my bucket list, and it was definitely something on my father's bucket list. I have no words. It's a very personal thing, and Titanic. That's my answer. And hopefully it doesn't happen what happened last time. So
well, I was going to say GPS technology's come a little bit further, so I think you should be okay with, not running into an iceberg this time. But
it would be just my luck, though. It would be just my luck. I mean, can you imagine the headlines if it did happen again? But no, that's my answer. Passenger on the Titanic.
Just don't tell anyone that it's unsinkable.
Famous last words. Yeah.
Or if you're worried, we'll dangle some hair dryers across the front of it.
Oh, that's all right. With global warming, there won't be any icebergs
Well,
left.
exactly. I've got no fears. I've got no fears.
Okay, excellent. Well, the next question is the one that we do judge very, very harshly on. So we don't. If you, I mean, this could make or break the interview, to be honest with you. So, in your opinion, what is the greatest sitcom ever made? And if it's not your favorite, what is your favorite?
Friends.
Okay, yeah, Friends. I go Friends.
Fastest answer we've ever had.
Yeah, is that because that was, that was a staple on the TV, as you were growing up, or?
It was, and I can still remember watching the last ever episode of season 10. It means a lot to me. It's something that I can watch over and over and over, and I still find the jokes funny. I still find a lot of things really relevant to this day, work problems, relationship problems. I think it's the funniest thing. I can't tell you how many times I've watched the whole entire length of Friends, but that's my answer, Friends. Yeah, and I will fight you on this.
No. I agree. I grew up on Friends too. So, and I have seen the whole thing many, many times. In my opinion, it's not the greatest, but it's definitely top 3 for me. So,
what's your favorite? Can I ask you? What's your favorite?
Oh, look, I'm the interviewee, not the interview. My favorite sitcom is How I Met Your Mother. So,
okay, right.
That's my favorite.
Scrubs.
Yeah.
Is anyone a fan of Everybody Loves Raymond?
I didn't mind it.
Yeah, it was that was another. I don't. This is going to sound really weird. Every time I went to the doctors when I was a kid, it was on the TV at the doctors. So I don't have fond memories because of
I can memory association. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, it was look, I think it really depends on the generation too. Like that one was, I guess. No, I don't know. Yeah, How I Met Your Mother, Friends, and look, all 3 of ours, I would say, are my top 3. So can't go wrong with that.
Cool.
So I get to continue with the interview then?
You get to continue. Could definitely. It's the only question that we will ever stop an interview for if the answer. So,
I'm glad I
followed. Pass with flying colours.
All right. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but have you been in a zombie movie?
Yes, I have.
So you would have thought about this next question. Do you have a zombie apocalypse plan?
You know what? My thing is, well, the old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yep.
So I'm joining them. I'm joining the Legion. Yeah, there are a few people that deserve to be taken down a notch, and I'm going to join them. Sorry. Yeah.
So does that mean you're going to offer yourself up to become a zombie?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, we did have a conversation with our last guest, who was a horror writer, and I did say I would much rather be a zombie than a survivor because, well, one, I'm quite a large guy, so I'm not good at running away from zombies. So I may as well just jump on and at least then I can make a bit of a body count. Who knows? So no, I support that answer. I do. Yeah. I do.
No one supports my answer. I'm already in the mountains, so I'm like, I'll just stay put.
Yeah, well, that's a cool thing too. But just how often do you get to be a zombie, really? Yeah. I'll take one for the team, guys. I'm going down.
You might even be lucky enough you can be a zombie, and then you never know, someone might find the cure. So you get to experience all of that. You might get cured, and then the human race keeps going, and you can say, look, hey, for 5 years I was a zombie and I got to live my dream.
And I can write a book about it. The time I was a zombie. Yeah, it's all working out. I can see it now. Bestseller.
It always ties into making the dollars. Excellent. All right. Well, the last question is also one of my favorites. Elon Musk gets on the phone and calls you up, and he said, Stephanie, I've just invented the new electric time machine, and I want you to test drive it. And you've got a little watch that when you press the button, you come back exactly where you left. So where do you go and what do you do?
You know what? This is actually something that I've thought about a lot, and not so much Elon Musk, but if I did ever get my hands on a time machine, I know exactly where I'd go. Just hear me out. It would be I would go back to 1888, East End London, Whitechapel, so I could prove my hypotheses correct about who really was Jack the Ripper.
Okay, let's expand on this a little bit. So who was Jack the Ripper?
Well, I have my theories, and I know that there was this thing a couple of years ago with his shawl and DNA and things like that, but there are still a lot of things left up in the air, and I do consider myself to be a ripperologist. I have read so many books, so many articles, I've watched countless documentaries, and it's really something that I would say I'm obsessed by. So this is why I have often thought about this. I would love to go back in time and just see for myself, just see. I wouldn't need to tell anyone about it, but just so I would be like, okay, that makes sense,
Okay. See, I like your little technique of avoiding the question that I just asked, by the way. So I'm curious. Who do you think was Jack the Ripper?
The reason why is because a lot of people are very passionate about this, and I've given my opinions on online forums before, and I've just been completely shot down. And I just want to avoid the hate. So that's why I said that if I would go back in time and I wouldn't even tell anybody about it, it would just be for my own personal, I knew it, well, hopefully. That's the reason why people are very, very passionate about Jack the Ripper. I have seen many arguments online where they're like, no, you're wrong. And it's like, how do you know though? Like, you weren't there. So that's the reason why
You know what? That's a very interesting answer. I like that. Like, we get a lot of people who go, I just want to go back in time to make money, through the Back to the Future thing. But you actually want to go back in time to solve a mystery. And I really like that. I think that, and you can obviously tell you're very passionate about that as well.
As soon as I heard the moniker Jack the Ripper, I thought, who is this guy? And
he's a DJ, isn't he?
Yeah, well, there's that. But this has been something that it's really been inside my mind for a very long time. So yeah, straight up 1888 London. I'm gone.
You wouldn't get too close to him though, would you?
No. I mean, I'd try and observe from a distance, hopefully not the whole prostitution thing, because I obviously bring money with me to make sure that I was going to be okay. But then again, how would the currency work? I don't know. Yeah. Look, I'm the type of person that, like, I'll work it out when I get there, know. Well, at least the cool thing is that I know exactly where he's going to be and when.
Yeah.
So I would be just, peeping around the corner and.
And at least you've got that button on your watch, because Elon says as soon as you hit that, you transport straight back to where you left. So if things get really hairy, you can just run up, whip the mask off his face and go, bang.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then something that you'd be able to keep to yourself?
You know what? I think a little bit, yeah. Okay. You know what? I think I would, because even if I could go on these online forums and say, hey guys, guess what Elon did for me? And I have proof, blah, blah, blah. They still would know. Yeah. They'd still get angry and hurl abuse.
They wouldn't believe you.
But I've been through it all. You try and give your opinion and people are just, no, you're wrong.
And now you're friends with Elon Musk. It's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to believe me? I mean, come on, no.
Well, I think there'd be that little bit of satisfaction with you knowing who that is, and knowing, what, all these people can argue and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I actually do.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. That's a very good answer. Very good answer. Excellent. Well, thank you for taking the time to answer our icebreaker questions. It just gives our viewers and our listeners a bit of a chance to get to know a little bit about you. But now we want to know a lot about you. So we're going to just go straight into it. And Stephanie, just tell us a bit about who you are, how you got into acting, writing, all that kind of thing.
I know exactly how I got into acting. It was when I was a teenager and I was watching an episode of Home and Away. Mm-hmm. And I saw this, granted, she was a teenage girl, okay, but she did the most horrendous fall that anybody has ever seen. And I thought to myself, if that's her acting and she can get onto this type of show, I'm pretty sure I can fake fall something better than that. Okay. And that's that's truly how it came about. I thought if she can do it, I can do it. And so it started from there. I used to live in Toongabbie, and then our family moved out to Penrith in 1999. And I very quickly joined up to a theatre company. And that was so much fun. And I thought maybe I could do something in theatre. And then, years later, when I became a teenager and I saw that horrendous fall, I thought, no, I want to try my hand in television acting. And so very soon after that, I called up an extras agency. And a week after that, I got my first extras role on a TV series that nothing happened with that. But it was just the most amazing experience. I loved the feeling of everybody being a family. We work together, we eat together, you spend 12 hours a day with each other, and that's really what started it. I've always felt like I've been a creative person. Even when I was younger and I was in school, I'm talking like primary school, really young, I would write stories just on piece of paper, and I would take them into school, and my teacher would, bless her, they obviously weren't any good, but she would pin them on the board to let other students read my work. So I've always had this creative thing about me. Even music, I'm a die-hard fan of music. I'd never become a musician. I tried my hand at that, but anything creative where you just let your imagination run wild, that's who I am. So with my acting, it was going well, I would say, but it didn't get to the point where I was overly satisfied. So I still had to have a job to obviously support myself, pay the bills and stuff like that. And the thing about acting, even though it is so much fun and it's so addicting when you get that call to say, yes, you got the job, and it's, oh my God, everything seems to be very last minute. Like you'd get a call on Monday night from your agent and they'd say, okay, we've sent you, 5 pages, memorize them by tomorrow because you've got an audition at 11 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, what? I've got work. Like how can I do this? So it started becoming a little bit of an issue, I think, money-wise. And then there are, of course, a lot of student films. There's lots of work out there to be had, but a lot of it is free or it's very, very cheap. But one of the highlight of my career was when I flew over to America and I worked on a film called Blue Mountain State. And the production there versus Australia, it was like chalk and cheese. I think the budget for catering alone over there was probably the entire amount for a movie over here. Like it was insane. It was incredible. The biggest thing I had ever done, it was on Netflix. I don't believe it's there anymore, but it made it to #1 on iTunes within a day of being released.
Oh wow.
I was actually I get upset talking about this still, but initially I was supposed to have a role opposite Denise Richards. Yes. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to talk about the reasons why she pulled out, but let's just say she did. And pretty much I think the week of me flying out, and obviously I've told everybody, oh my God, I'm going to be working opposite Denise Richards, I think it was the week that I was due to fly out. I got an email saying that Denise is no longer involved in the production, and they had to write me something very quick off the top of their head kind of thing. Rewrites were sent, but still, it was the most amazing experience. I met a lot of cool people. Over in Australia, I was blessed. I got flown to Queensland. I got flown to Melbourne. It was all very fun, and there are definitely days where I do miss it. But it did get to the point where I thought something like it's not really happening for me. So I saw on Facebook that there was this guy from Melbourne who was doing a course. And this was really at the time where I was feeling quite stuck. I didn't have any momentum. By this point, I, had received a lot of rejection, even after my US production, which I thought would, kind of look impressive on my CV. So I saw this advertisement about a 1-day course, and it was something along the lines of become a working actor within 6 months or something like that. And from memory, it was $350 for the day. And I thought, look, it's a little bit more than I would pay, considering I'm not really getting money back. But I thought, you know what, just do it, just go. Oh, also the thing that really hooked me in was it said those that attend this workshop will automatically get an audition into this guy's future film. And I thought, well, that right there alone is worth money, you know, guaranteed to audition for this guy. So I went, and I had no idea walking out that that would actually be really the start of something major for me, because the whole thing, I'm just going to tell you quickly, was that he was saying that actors need to take off their acting hat and they need to become producers / writers, basically writing your own material, creating your own material and starring in it yourself, basically. And he was there to help with the finances and all of this and all of that. So I walked away from that thinking, you know what, that's a really cool idea. Taking the reins of your own career, not waiting for other people to call you. I love books. I kind of know how to write. That was the way I was thinking back then. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write a screenplay. So I sat down very, very soon after that, maybe a couple of days, because I was thinking about it. What am I going to do, you know? And I came up with all of these ideas that are my favorite things in the world: musicals, 50s, pin-up, fashion, all of that kind of stuff. And I wrote the screenplay, but it wasn't quite gelling for me. It just wasn't really working. And I think because mainly the characters, I didn't feel that people would be invested enough in the characters. I felt like there needed to be more backstory. So I called up the guy, so this producer. I don't know if I should say his name because I'll just leave it out. We'll call him producer, okay? And I called him up and I said, it's not really working for me. And then I had the idea, what if I wrote this into a novel first, sent it out into the world as a novel, then I could take that to, say, Screen Australia and say, I want to turn this into a film. And he said, you know what? I've never had a student say that to me before. If you think that you've got it in you to write a novel, then do it. And I said, I am going to do it. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
It was quite hard. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but that day really sparked the beginning of something huge for me. So my passion has completely transformed. I no longer really work on film sets. I don't really have much to do with that industry anymore. My sole passion now is writing books. And I have released 2 so far. The third one is due in October. And I have an additional 6 more.
Oh, wow.
6 more novels that are waiting to go. So obviously nothing happened with that screenplay. Funnily enough, that producer that held the workshop, his film, nothing even happened with his film. And in that time, I have done a lot with the writing side of things. There was so much to learn. I made so many mistakes, but I will forever be grateful for going to that workshop that day, because it changed my life, not in the way that I think even he was expecting. You know, we were supposed to go and write screenplays and then get them funded and create movies ourselves. But that idea of writing a novel, I'm so grateful to this day. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it sounds like it's been a pretty crazy and incredible journey from, you know, starting off as a teenager as an actress.
Yes.
And, you know, going up there and getting into, you know, into the movies in the States. Doing
Yes.
good work out here, and then, you know, as you say, you've got the published books. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your books? So, the one that's really interested me is Memories of Them. That sounds like my kind of book. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your books, and obviously you've got the new one, Fool's Game, which is coming out later this year.
Yes, that's true. Funnily enough, I just received a review from someone over in America for Memories of Then, and it's absolutely just because I would like to sort of get into more of the US market. They are crazy about books over there. So, and I read a lot of American authors, so that was really crazy. She gave me 4 out of 5 stars. Still sort of on a buzz from that. The thing with writing is that they say stick to your lane. So if you want to be a horror author, obviously write nothing but horror. You know, if you want to be romance, become Danielle Steele and do romance. Because at the time when I was writing Cherry, I still didn't think that was going to be my career now, that's what I was going to do. So my very first book is nothing compared to nothing like my second book. So Cherry is a YA. It's literally aimed at young teenage girls. It's to do with, you know, makeup and fashion and pin-up and all of that kind of stuff. And then when I went through the process and I finally held the book in my hands, I thought, wow, this is what I want to do, but I don't want to be a YA author. I had fun with it, but I am definitely more into the adult fiction, talking about real big issues that I myself go through: death, love, loss, all of that kind of, the real heavy issues, the meat and bones of life. That's what I want to do. So anybody, and I've had people who have read both, and they've said it is marginally different. They're not even similar. So if I could have my time going back, I definitely would have changed the genre, because I don't think people would, you know, be following me as such. But now that I know that this is definitely the way that I want to go, all of my books are sort of going to be the same. And hey, I'm not embarrassed by Cherry. I loved it. It was a great experience. It got my foot into the door. But Memories of Then is really it's quite heavy. Some of the themes that it deals with is quite heavy. So in a nutshell, it's about an elderly man that receives word that the love of his life, the one that got away, is in a coma, and she doesn't have long to go. So he goes to visit her, and obviously her family are there, and none of them know who he is, never even heard of him. So there's this instant tension, different dynamics, you know, I'm the boss, no, I'm the boss, you know, she's my mom, you know, well, she was the love of my life kind of thing, you know. And it's really drama based, but there's a lot of, I think, beautiful romance in there. The review that I read just recently said that it had essence of The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. That type of romance. That was really such a compliment. I thought, yay, because
Ryan Gosling in the Rain.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. I love that movie. And it's really about how we deal with, it's sort of, I guess one of the themes in there would be, I guess, don't always judge people on the outset. You know, every single one of us, we all have scars. We all have things that we're going through. We all have issues that are unresolved. And that's something that I would say would definitely be one of the main themes. And obviously, as the journey goes on, we find out more about them as actual lovers, how they met. There are some parts where it is diary form. So we go back to 1964, the year that they first met. And then, of course, we found out exactly what it was that tore them apart, and how he, the protagonist, basically dealt with his life after that, and after losing her, and you know, seeing her again all these decades later, surrounded by hostile family members, simply because they don't know who he is, you know, and it's a private family thing. But then, of course, her family, sons and daughters, they also have their own issues that they are dealing with. So it sort of ties in, the subplot ties in, I think, well with the main story. So lots of themes, lots of stuff going on: death, love, suicide. We go back to the Vietnam War. So very different from Cherry.
And I can see it's definitely a well-received book, lots of 5-star reviews, and it looks like you can pretty much get it anywhere and everywhere digitally. You know, you can get it on Amazon and Kobo, and then all the bookstops. Sorry if I can speak properly. Out here as well, which is fantastic. And I'm going to jump on to Amazon and grab a copy for myself. So
this is what we do. Yeah. This show is not about you. It's about selling books to Ryan.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Thank you.
It sounds like something that'd be right up my alley. So I'm very, 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 very much looking forward to reading it. So
I hope so. I know that it's, you know, like every book, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I have to say, I will say that it's something that I am proud of. It took me 5 years. I went through a lot personally, and to see the end results, and even the front cover design, which I think she did a marvelous job. I've had so many compliments on the front cover, which of course I can't take any credit for, but it has been really, really well received, and it just made all of that hard work and everything that I went through just made it all worth it. So it is something that I myself am proud of, and I don't know if I should say this because I've got another book coming out, but out of all of the ones that I have written so far, this is my favorite. I think it's just got that little magical thing in there where it pulls at the heartstrings, but things, have a way of working out.
Exactly. And I think it's, I think why it would, and I'm not a writer by any, I've read a billion books, so I can only speak as a reader. But I think, as you said, this is the first book where you've found your niche in terms of how you want to write and the kind of stories you want to tell. So I think that's why, even though Cherry came out first, but this is a genre that you want to be in, it's always going to hold that special spot in your heart. So I can understand that completely.
Absolutely it does. And I've always felt like I've been born in the wrong era. I can't stand today's music. Some of the movies that I've seen, they're just horrendous. I mean, if I'm looking for a great night in, I'm going to choose something like Casablanca, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when it comes to music, I have always been so attracted to the 60s. I don't know what it is. I honestly feel like I have been there before. There's just something about that era that just it's almost like nostalgia, but I can't even say that because, I was born in 1990. So, and one of the things that I, got feedback from was, of course, a lot of the older generation, like the baby boomers, they were coming back and they were saying, oh my God, when you spoke about this or when you mentioned this, and it just brought up so many memories for us. And you could see the excitement in their eyes, because that's their childhood too. Like that's what they went through. So if I can, touch people like that in any way, I think that that's a great thing. So a lot of my other novels that I have written, I've done some in the 70s. This one that's coming out is now in the 80s. And I feel that people get really excited to sort of go back to their own childhood.
Yeah, definitely. Talking
about music and movies, and that was a lot of feedback came back about that part.
Does that mean your next book's going to be in the 90s?
You know what? I should, because I should, and I am tinkering away at something, but I'm very much drawn to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's where my real passion, my real love lies. And I feel like that's sacrilege because I was, grew up in the 90s, but I don't know how many fans of the Spice Girls are out there, or Five, or Aqua, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
I'm trying to talk my housemate into going and see Five. They're coming out this year to Australia. I'm trying to get my housemate to come with me, but she just won't. And I'm like, come on.
Why not? I know it's technically 3 now, isn't it? I think 3 out of the 5.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. That's fine. Look, I will be imagining the missing 2 on stage.
Yes, exactly.
So
they'll hire two of the boys from Hanson.
No, I'll get up there and do it. I'm a singer. I'll do it, man. You know me. Like, I'll get it. I know all their songs off the top of my head anyway. So, yeah, no, I get that. It's just, there is something about nostalgia that just gives you that nice, warm and fuzzy feeling. Like, it's like going back to when you're having a really crap day and you put on a movie that you watched or a show that you watched when you were little, or read a book what you used to love when you were little, and it just makes everything okay again, so
absolutely. I agree with you. Some of the best times of my life when I was a kid, and obviously things were so much simpler back then, and I feel grateful that I got in there really before the technology kicked in, because I see so many kids these days, like I'm talking really young kids, and they're out at restaurants and stuff, and all they're doing is this, and you drive down the streets and nobody's outside. Even when I was a kid, people were outside, like playing on their bicycles, or be home when the lights go out, or whatever. That just doesn't happen anymore, and I'm so glad that I got in there right before that, because I don't know, but there's always something magical about childhood memories, and I really feel that these sort of stories evoke that for different reasons, different reasons.
No, I agree, and exactly what you're saying nowadays. I wasn't allowed to get my first mobile phone until I was 18. You know what I mean? I had to pay for it myself, get my own prepaid. My parents were like, you don't need a phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was born in 82, so it's not that, it was just in the era. Like, I think it was, so it was 2000 when I was 18, and that was when I got my first mobile phone. And now you see like 6, 7, 8-year-old kids have got, bloody
Yeah.
iPhones and everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And none of them get to play Snake.
No.
Yeah.
Or none of
That
them
was
get to
a good
spend like
game.
5 hours composing ringtones on composer or anything like that. These kids, I tell you, you're bringing out the old man in me right now, but because you and I would have been neighbours. I live in Blacktown. Gabby's not too far.
Oh yeah, of course. Wow.
Around that time, I tell you, it's just kids these days. I don't know what they're missing with their PlayStations and their Nintendos. So
I had a Nintendo 64.
That was the best console in the entire world. I tell you,
Mario Kart.
Yes.
Even just so, I just have fond memories of just being a massive nerd, sitting around with my mates playing GoldenEye with one little screen.
Yeah, that was the coolest ever. You look back at it now, but at the time you were thinking, "Oh my god, this is so cool! Look at the graphics." Everything was so much. I don't know. For me personally, it was just so much simpler. Childhood.
I agree.
Warm, fuzzy, great memories.
Very nostalgic. Before we go too far off topic, why don't you take us through your next book, which is coming out at the end of October, which is Game? Why don't you give us a bit of a teaser on what that's about?
So in case my answer before didn't sort of indicate, I am very, very heavily involved. Well, I shouldn't say involved. It makes me sound like I'm a serial killer. I have a keen
Nothing wrong with that. We don't judge.
I have a keen interest in true crime. Anything, serial killers, just give it to me. Netflix documentaries, I'm all over it. Yep. So this is basically what Fool's Game is about, but it's taking away a little bit from my love of Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
I know it sounds weird, but just hear me out. So I wouldn't say that this is a crime thriller. I would say it's more a psychological thriller. Okay. So my protagonist, Eddie Matthews, he is retired. I wouldn't say happily, because his love of his mind is still on the force and being in the action every day and, helping solve mysteries. And but one day when he's sitting down for breakfast, he receives a call from an ex-colleague who basically says that they've stumbled across a crime scene, but there are sort of these clues. And, it's really out of the ordinary. It's not just your normal, slash them and just walk away kind of thing. Yeah. So he says, hey, buddy, look, I miss you. I know that you miss working. Just come and check it out for a little while. Just tell us what you think. So that's exactly what he does. And he thinks that it's just going to be a one-time thing. He's going to go and he's going to observe the crime scene and give his, expertise opinion on, what could this be? What does that mean? What does the left sink tap running? What does that indicate? What's the symbolism there? But obviously it's not just a one-time deal. Things start happening. He becomes more and more involved in the situation. His relationship, his marriage begins to suffer because of it, because obviously his wife, she has gone through decades of him being out at all hours of the night and day. And she's now thinking, yay, he's retired. I'm going to have we can start to do things. We can go to, on a trip to Aruba. And he's just being pulled constantly into this case until he himself starts being targeted by the killer. And I think that's maybe all I want to reveal, because I feel like if I keep going, then I'm going to sort of say too much. So I wouldn't say that's a crime thriller in the fact that I'm not going into, a lot of the jargon about, autopsies and things like that and the procedures, because this is set back in 1984. So things were a lot different back then. I mean, they didn't even use DNA in the case that, in those situations. Dabbling with it, but it wasn't like how DNA is today, fingerprinting, sure, but it's completely different. So I've sort of steered clear of the crime so much, but more about the protagonist, about what he is going through, the psychology, now being targeted, having to hide it from his wife because he already knows that she's pissed off, and his son is heavily involved in drugs, and there's a lot going on. So I am super excited for this.
No, dear, no one's trying to kill me.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Did you lock the doors? You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's a man outside the window with a knife.
He's trimming the hedges.
Just look away, dear. Look away. Yeah, so I'm super excited. Again, it's something that's quite different. But I was super excited about it because there are a lot of clues. There are a lot of, I can just imagine people reading it going, what the heck does that mean? What does the Star of David have to do with it? What does a dead dog not that I endorse cruelty, but there is a reason for that, and that will reveal itself at the end. So yes.
And they'll be thinking, where did Jack the Ripper get that time machine to come to 1984 and become the killer of this?
No. I was more leaning to like great granddaughter of Jack the Ripper called Jill the Ripper.
Well, you know that is the theory, right?
Oh my God.
There is the theory of Jill the Ripper. There are people out there who believe that it was in fact a female, and that she was in the disguise of delivering babies and things like that, of being a nurse, because she could walk around through the streets with blood on her clothes and go undetected. So there is actually that theory of Jill the Ripper. I personally think that it's bollocks, but
So do I. That's why I made a joke about it. But
But no,
Oh, I get it.
no, really, this has been posed many times before online. Yeah.
Okay, but do you believe the fact that he or she was in fact in the medical profession?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's so interesting is that, I don't know if you guys know much about it, but I'm saying that there are so many people who are passionate and would tell you when you're wrong and that they are right. But really, at the end of the day, people can't even collectively agree on just how many victims there were.
Okay.
It's believed to be 5. And I do think that it is as well. But there are some people that, no, it was only 3. And then there are some people who think it goes up to 11. So that's why I want to be very careful, because there are a lot of...
a number of deaths.
Let's just say that.
Well, I mean, the other theories that I heard, I've heard theories going from him being a doctor to being a butcher.
Yes.
Not in the literal sense, obviously, as a murderer, but a butcher, as well. But look, I haven't really fallen down a rabbit hole, but just having this conversation kind of starting to send me down a bit of a rabbit hole.
It will be dry. Turn back now.
I'm planning on going to bed, but looks like that's not happening. I've been Googling Jack the Ripper and
Welcome to the Conspiracy Theory Podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I love conspiracy theories. I could go on about this all night, but
we'll get you back on for that.
Thank you. I'll be available. And actually, in my acknowledgement section in the back of Fool's Game, I do actually mention Jack the Ripper, and it was more about not even so much about Jack the Ripper himself, but about the detectives working on the case.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought about that. Everyone, obviously, the victims and the possible suspects, but I really can't help but think about the detectives who were there working their fingers to the bone. There is so much public pressure. Like, you guys are laying down on the job. You haven't even caught him, all of this kind of stuff. I really wonder what that does to someone's mental well-being.
Yeah.
And it really is sort of, to do with the main inspector on the case. And I always wondered, like, was he thinking of Jack on his deathbed? I mean, I wouldn't you? It'd be, he was always like one step ahead, always outsmarted me, So inspiration, Fool's Game.
Well, look, if we ever do hear of the definitive answer to who is Jack the Ripper, I'll be contacting Elon Musk to see if someone's time. And we can take the credit for that. I think.
You know what? I have belief that it is going to happen one day. Yeah. I have to hold on to that belief. There are also other unsolved mysteries that I want to sort of just, there's a lot. But until then, I'll just have these thoughts in my mind and see what happens.
Elon gets on the phone.
Yeah.
But no, that's it. So aside, obviously, so with Fool's Game, is that finished? You've completely finished on that? That's just waiting to go?
Yeah, it is technically with my editor at the moment, and she's due to give that back to me on the 10th, so not long to go now. Then it'll just be the final sort of phase of going through, making sure that I haven't accidentally added 2 question marks instead of 1. And then the exciting process of finding, I think I'm going to go back to that front cover designer who did my second book, because
Oh,
I
yeah,
received
definitely.
so much positive feedback from that. So I think she sort of knows what I'm like now. I'll
Yeah.
go back to her, and that's one of the most exciting parts of the whole entire process, because that's when it really becomes real. Like, wow, it's finally happening. So I am confident that everything's going to be here on the 31st of October, which is Halloween, because it's kind of on the.
Oh, yeah, I like that. No, I will admit, at least 50 to 60% of the time, the cover sells me on the book. And I was thinking that when I saw Memories of Then, I thought that's a brilliantly designed cover. I really, it's very intriguing. It's like, I wonder what this is all about. So I think you've stumbled upon a winner with that cover designer.
Thank you. Yes, she is an award-winning designer. She has worked with all of the top literary agencies in Australia, Penguin, or all of that kind of stuff. Expensive, but definitely well worth it. And I like the fact that it is rather simplistic when you think about it, but it gives away. For me, it gives away a lot. It's the atmospheric of the dark rumbling clouds, and you know that it's not exactly going to be a happy ending. That's not a spoiler. It's a given. It's implicit. Just look at the rumbling clouds.
Yeah.
So I would definitely go back to her for this one. So super excited! Can't wait. Cannot wait.
You've definitely sold me, and that's the premise of this podcast. So I'll be buying it when it comes out. So you've got me buying that. So
well, it's people always say don't judge a book by its cover. I do. I mean,
when we're talking about literary books, yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
I honestly, I do. I am like you. If the first thing that I lay my eyes on, it's the biggest marketing tool that an author has is their front cover. And, they say, just give it a go because the content is good. It doesn't matter about the art. Well, it does, because it speaks for everything. If the self-publisher hasn't taken the time to get a decent front cover, then what makes people have faith that they've given the time to their actual material? It's usually they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, there are. I don't want to be mean, but I have seen really some shocking front cover designs that people have so clearly done themselves, and it's so sad, because I think you're shooting yourself in the foot before you even have a chance. Like, let people be intrigued first, but clearly photoshopped. And I know that you weren't asking for advice, but if anyone's listening and they do want just one piece of advice, if they're self-publishing, front cover, they can be hella expensive, but do yourself a favor.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. You couldn't have said it better, because as like the amount of books that I've bought just based on the cover, got me in. I'm like, okay, that looks pretty good. I buy most of my stuff digitally, so I can go on Amazon and go, you know what, I'm going to read that first little couple of pages based on the cover, and then I read it, and then I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. But you're 100% right. It's a visual thing. You see the cover, like looking at that cover, it's just without even knowing what the book's about is, okay, I'm going to do the look inside. I'm going to read the first chapter.
Yes.
Then you've got them. You got the, like you say, the foot in the door, and then you're looking with your writing. So I agree. Couldn't have said it better. I think that's fantastic. So give us a little insight on what you're working on at the moment.
Well, because I know that I have a few more days to play around before I get the final of Fool's Game, I'm actually working on, it's down the bottom there, I'm just doing a little bit of editing on a horror. Again, different, I know, but it's based in the 70s. So I'm just going through with my red marker and my physical copy and just, correcting grammar, punctuation.
So is it about the disco strangler from Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
How did you know? It's so uncanny. This one's really crazy too. Sometimes I don't really know how I get my ideas. I sort of just float in, and I capture them.
For me.
Well, you've said the magic word horror. Do you want to tell me a little bit about it? I'm a massive horror buff. Horror is
me too. But you know what? I'm more of a horror movie, because it's the sound. It's the sound. I feel like I get way more frightened during a movie because of the sound. And, leading up to it, something's going to happen. Whereas in a book, it's, you know what I mean? I still can get scared. But for me, it was a little bit daunting because I love horror so much. that I put a lot of pressure on myself. But the premise is a husband and wife move into a house and strange occurrences start happening. I know you haven't heard this one before. Strange occurrences. But let's just say that it's not just the house being haunted. There are a lot of secrets inhabiting this town. And the husband and wife starts sort of drifting this way because one person believes that these things are truly happening. The other person doesn't, thinks that there are logical explanations. So there's drama, there's tension. Other people are brought into the mix and a secret is revealed towards the end. I always like having that little bit of a aha towards the end. So hopefully people don't work it out until then, but we'll see. So it's very, very early stages. I'm not even thinking of getting my editor to have a look over it yet. I am literally just red pen fixing up. There are still spelling mistakes in there because I type like 100 miles an hour. So it's just that sort of stuff until I, can focus heavily on Fool's Game on the 10th.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of horror then, seeing as we got into it and you're a bit of a horror buff.
Go for it.
Steal a famous line from a movie. What's your favorite scary movie?
Did you what, sorry?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, well, can I say a franchise?
You can.
Halloween.
Halloween, yeah.
Halloween.
I agree with that because the fact that John Carpenter can take a couple of notes on a piano and scare the absolute crap out of you. And the amount of money that man has made on that, just of those couple of notes on the key. And that was my ringtone, I think, for my entire 20. You know what I mean? Like,
I had that ringtone as well. No, I love it. Look, I'm going to be honest and again say the whole newer movies that are coming out, I'm not really such a huge fan.
Yep.
But actually Halloween 4 and 5, they are my favorite. Okay. And also 6. 6 got a bad rap, but I actually don't mind number 6 as well. But hands down, Michael Myers.
The Rob Zombie ones. What did you think of those ones?
No.
Okay, this is where we might have to differ a little bit.
I
will say I'm a massive Rob Zombie fan in terms of music as well.
Oh, okay.
I think those two movies, they don't compare to the first 6.
Yeah.
But I think that I look at it, me being a massive Batman fan, I look at those being the Christian Bale.
Nice. Okay. I respect that. I respect that. I know exactly what you're saying. I do respect that. Yes.
I don't like the new ones at all. I can't stand them. The Halloween Kills, whatever the new ones is. I can't stand those ones. I'm with you there, but I just think it was Rob Zombie's take was just a little bit more, I don't know, violent and psychological for me.
Yes, I agree too.
Yeah, but you can't go past the. I mean, the original one, only 2 people die in the first Halloween movie, and one of the most scariest horror movies out there. So,
honestly, I could talk all day about Michael Myers. Unfortunately I can't retrieve it now, but I do have a doll of Michael Myers up there, and he has this little button at the back that where you press it, you hear Jamie Lee Curtis in the first one, how she's running from the house across the road to try and wake up Tommy, and she's literally, that's her screaming with the music in the background. You know what? I'm gonna grab out and send you a photo of it later. So,
and all you need
put it up on the screen.
All you need is the other Mike Myers from Shrek and Austin Powers up there.
Do you know how many people get those confused? When I say something about Michael Myers, they're like, "Oh yeah, he's heaps funny." No, you don't.
Well, it'll be like similar to 28 Days and 28 Days Later.
Oh, I know. You know what? I feel embarrassed for people. All right, can you see that?
I can see that.
I can see it. Yep.
So you got Michael Myers and Michael Jackson. Excellent. Excellent. You have a shelf of Michaels over there.
I also have Pennywise because I am a huge fan. Captain Jack Sparrow and Pennywise.
Pennywise, original or reboot?
Oh, okay. Stephen King is my all-time favorite, and I can talk for hours about this. The original.
Okay, yeah.
The original.
I've watched. It took me 3 goes to watch the second remake of it, and there was just something about it I just couldn't sit through. It's just Tim Curry's the best Pennywise out there, I think, and I just couldn't get into the new ones.
What got it for me, I think, was, again, talking about the childhood part. I felt like in the first movie, they were all so well connected. Yeah. The children, when we go back into their, youth, there was something I felt that was so magical. I know it's a horror movie, but I believed it more. Like when a certain person passes away, you feel it more because you feel like wow, that's their best friend, and for me, sometimes, as they say, less is more. And for me, a lot of movies these days, they just go way overboard with CGI to the point where you can't even it's just a joke for me personally.
No, I agree 100%. Definitely. You have my respect in terms of horror. I appreciate that. So, and it's got me really, really excited for this horror book that you're just starting to work on. So even though I may have to wait a while, I definitely keep an eye out for that one.
Well, look, I wasn't going to say anything because I like to be sure about something before I say it, but this is the plan to next year start releasing 2 novels per year. So one in the beginning, one towards the end. And I already have the 4th one lined up. That again is a drama. Yep. But I am thinking of releasing the horror next year.
Yeah, do it.
I feel like my okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it just for you.
Do it. And look, if you want to name your one of the ghosts or supernatural fields, right? I wouldn't say no to naming it after me. You can do that.
You know what? Done. That's a promise. Done.
Yeah, I'm in 2 books now.
He's on a hike because I put him in my book.
Yeah. And now every author we have, I'm sort of subtly dropping. I want to make the Ryan multiverse.
Done. No, absolutely done. Not a problem.
You don't have to put me in. I'm not that fussed, I'm there in spirit.
I might let I'm known, if you do listen to any of other episodes with authors, I'm known to talk a lot. So I might let Jamie have a bit of a crack at having a talk. He is contracted to 500 words per episode, but he never really gets there. So I'll let him have a chat now.
Okay. I don't know. Well, I thought we were going to.
That's all the time we have for now. No, I'm joking.
Well, that's where we're up to. Like, because you said, what are we working on? And she told us. So, okay, now I'm going to be like, all right. Favorite childhood movie.
Oh.
Okay. Straight off the top of my head, even though it does actually change, I'm going to say the movie Now and Then. Now and Then. But I was absolutely obsessed with Grease.
Oh, who wasn't? Yeah.
I mean, at one point I really thought that I was sort of like a Sandy, and I would steal my dad's cigarettes and not obviously light them, but he'd come home to all of these broken cigarettes because I'd stub them out with my little, tiny foot, pretending to be Sandy. And yeah.
You didn't think about using fads? Remember the fad candy?
Oh, the fad.
Yeah. It was just more convenient. Dad was out. My mum was around somewhere, probably cooking, and I just, his drawer was. Well, what am I supposed to do?
And in a way, you're helping him quit smoking. So.
Exactly. I did it for you, Dad. But yeah, no. Now and Then, really great memories. I even remember watching it with my neighbors across the road. I had a wonderful childhood with them, and like so many situations, we've drifted apart. Moving away, and one of them has married with kids now. But I do actually have fond memories of being with my best friends from childhood. And Grease. What was yours? What was yours?
Not Grease 2, but Grease 1 for sure.
Oh, we don't mention that. That's not even.
No, we can't talk about that. We wish that's one of the movies I wish gets stricken from the record.
You know what? I agree. Agreed.
Excellent. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us tonight, Stephanie. I appreciate. I know it's a bit late. Where are you in Australia at the moment? Are you, Stephanie?
Yes, I'm in Sydney. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Yes. So we're all on the same time zone. I think this is the first interview we've ever had where we're all on the same time zone. So it's definitely well past my bedtime. But what I'd like to do before we go, Stephanie, where can our listeners learn more about you, socials, where they can buy your books, see your movies, all that kind of thing? So hit us up.
I have a website, which I do sort of update when it needs updating. There's not too much that I've got, to list there now, apart from what I've previously done, but my website, and I am very heavy on social media, Facebook, Instagram, that I'm even on Twitter. I have a Tumblr, which is really fun. Even today, I did a blog post about 10 books that have helped me with my writing journey. So I'm now sort of, trying to do tips and stuff as well. Give me a shout, say hello. I have a lot of people that come to me for advice, and I think that it's so wonderful that I can pay it forward. I really do. People need a helping hand in this world, and if you can offer assistance, then just give it to them. So I'd be happy to hear from anybody. Instagram and Facebook are my two biggest ones.
Excellent. And look, the more people we can get into the writing industry in terms of writing, reading, you name it, I think is better. People need to, and I'm putting my grumpy old man pants on. People need to read more, because honestly, it's so soothing, and it just takes you out of real life. Everything that's going on in the world at the moment is crazy anyway.
Yeah.
So if you can just sit down and read a book for a couple of hours on the weekend or whenever, just to take you into another world, we need more. We need to. There's a lot of TV and streaming and everything at the moment. We need more people reading.
I absolutely agree. When someone tells me that they hate reading, no, look, to each their own, and I get that. But for me, it is the best form of escapism. Definitely. You don't need a passport. You don't even need to leave the confines of your own home. You just get taken away, and it is so much fun. It is the best form of creativity I can think of. I love it so much. And I agree with you. I would love it if more people were actually reading, especially children. I think it's so important. Really, truly, just it's amazing. It's the best thing in the world.
You couldn't have said it better. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Stephanie. We're going to, obviously, in the show notes, we're going to have links to your website, to your books, everything. But yeah, we will hopefully, maybe we can get you back on before Fool's Game drops, and we can do a bit of promo for that as well.
I'd be so happy, and if you want to continue talking about Michael Myers, I am down for that as well. Even though that's a whole separate thing, just give me a call.
We'll have to have a horror. I reckon we'll have to have a
horror panel,
horror episode with a horror panel, because we've got a couple of other guests that have said that, and we can just get you a big free for all.
I'd be so keen, so super keen. Just let me know, okay?
Yeah, well, it's pretty funny because we've got 4 horror writers in a row.
Ooh.
So there's one. When at the time this is recorded, it's a week ago. It's come out. So recording time, it's out tomorrow, and then yours will come out, and then another one after you.
Oh, that is so super cool. Go horror. Everyone always talks about fantasy and sci-fi. I'm like, where are the horrors at? Come on.
And it's just making my wallet emptier and emptier and emptier. So
yeah.
I really probably am the only podcast person who buys literally every single one of his guest books, at least. I'm doing my part.
You are. You're a top guy.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Yep. Jamie,
thanks for coming on. Thanks for letting me talk, Ryan.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.
Hello listeners and watchers, Jamie here. I just wanted to take a second to let you know that I too am an author, and I have 2 books of my own. 1, Letters from the Emu War. Based on a real-life event, it tells the story of the time when the Australian Army declared war on 20,000 flightless birds and lost. This book is written from the perspective of those who won. And 2, Bucks Night. First in a trilogy of novellas, it's about a medieval-themed Bucks party that is interrupted by the zombie apocalypse. You can find them both on Amazon by following the links in the show notes.